Not too bad, Steve. I'm all right.
Good
Nice.
morning, Mr.
Welcome.
Warner. How are you this
While
morning? Good to see you. Looking at the pink of health.
I am. I thank God every morning for my health. I am in a pink of health. You are quite correct to say that.
But Mr. Warner, I saw you like 2 years ago, and you're looking better than 2 years ago. What are you doing?
I'll tell you off the camera.
Is it
If
not?
it's the same thing,
It's
if it's
not.
the same
It's
thing
not
I'm
PG.
doing,
It's not PG worthy.
It's not the same. But if it's the same thing you're doing, then I'm doing it better.
I feel you're doing it better than me.
Yeah.
Mr. Warner, thank you for joining us this morning. Let's ask him a question. It's a poll question this morning. What's your answer to that kind of poll question?
Is he
No,
saying
I
it?
really don't care. To be honest with you, I really don't care.
Nancy,
New
don't
leader,
care.
old leader. To me, it makes no difference. I'm not excited by that poll at all.
Are you excited about a new leader in the UNC?
Neither. I don't see. I don't see the UNC getting any new leader at this point in time.
So recently, we saw through a newspaper report that you are willing to come back into active politics. First of all, is the IRP still active, Mr. Warner?
Just 1 minute. I'll pick up this thing.
They started calling.
that is not me calling.
Yes. What are you
Mr.
asking?
Warner, you still have that Richie Spice ringtone when you remember when you brought him in the country?
That is correct.
You're not easy.
Mr. Warner, is the ILP still active?
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay. So the recent newspaper report, I think it's the Guardian reported, you are saying that you are willing to come back into active politics and contest a seat. Should Mrs. Prasad Bissessa give you the nod, would that be an accurate representation of your words?
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
Why would you get back into politics now? What would be the impetus for you doing that? What would be the impetus for you
All I'm
doing that?
saying is, if I can do anything to assist or to help, I will do that. I am not saying that I am getting in. If they need me, I'm there. I am saying that at this point in time, all hands on deck, and therefore, what I'm saying is that if they need me, I shall be there. I have no problem with that.
But why do you feel the need to be there to contest a seat? And a seat that you'll clearly win easily.
I don't necessarily have to contest a seat. I'm making the point once again that if they need me, I'll be there. If they want me to contest a seat, I'm willing. If they say A, B, or C seat, I have no problem. And that's what I'm saying.
Do you have any preference for a seat? Because you contested Chaguanas
East.
West or East? West. You contested Lupino Bonnier. You ran as an independent and won the Chaguanas seat very convincingly. But you didn't win the Lupino Bonnier. Is there a preference for a seat you would have if given the opportunity?
I have no preference. I'm saying that is left to Mrs. Prasad Bissessa and the party. I have no preference. All I have is a willingness to assist in political change. That's all. I have no preference. Doesn't matter to me in the least at this point in time.
So, Mr. Warner, are there any, how I should put it, conditions attached to you going back to the UNC? In other words,
none whatsoever. None whatsoever. I mean, listen, I don't need to put conditions to the UNC. I am making it quite clear that I'm willing to help. And if you're willing to help, you don't have to put conditions.
And you'll go back there regardless of who are still the players involved in the UNC.
Let me hear it again.
You will go back there even though there are players involved in the UNC who you would have criticized publicly before.
Oh, sure. The past is the past. You forget I'm the man who invented yesterday, and today's today. You forget that?
I can't forget that.
Well, all right. then that mantra is still alive.
Mr. Warner, what is your opinion on the 5 persons who they're now describing as dissidents, and what role do you think it's had any impact on the image of the UNC in the last couple of months?
I don't think so. I don't think it has any impact. I think there are some people who will be offended, yes, and that is quite natural, but I don't think it has any deleterious impact or effect on the UNC at this point. I don't think so.
When the UNC, with yourself, got into power, it was under the People's Partnership Amalgam in 2010. Do you think the UNC should be considering amalgams with other parties at this time, or do you think they should go it alone?
I think they have to include individuals from other parties, from other organizations, if they need to get kind of attraction that they need. At the end of the day, what the UNC has to practice now is, for me, is more love than anything else. Embrace everybody, make it a unified fight, as it were, and see what happens after.
Do you think the NTA should be one of those parties? In more recent times, we've seen a kind of, I don't know if it's to call it a rift between the UNC and the NTA in recent times. Do you think the NTA, led by Mr. Griffith, should be one of those parties considered?
No, I'm not talking about an alliance. I'm saying that, of course, the parties should have candidates and they must fight under the banner of the UNC.
So you don't think another party should be included, as was done in 2010?
I don't think so. I think that it should be a unified fight under the umbrella of the UNC.
So if any of those parties want to contest or amalgamate, they need to join the UNC and fight the seat under the UNC.
They don't have to disband their parties, but they need to, of course, to enter under the umbrella of the UNC.
But in the UNC, doesn't the UNC Constitution say you can't be a member of another party while contesting under the UNC? Am I incorrect with that?
I don't know what the Constitution says, to be honest with you. If that's what it says, then they'll have to deal with it. But I can't tell you what it says.
When last have you spoken to Mrs. Pasabi Sessa?
Last Sunday.
Last Sunday. And what was that? If you could care to share, was that conversation?
I will do that after all. I think that is between Mrs. Pasabi Sessa and me.
Well, I have to ask. You know how to ask.
I don't think that's for public consumption.
Mr. Warner, you said a while ago that the UNC needs to show love and embrace everybody and win the election and then see what happens after. Why should the country go through that scenario again about let's see what happens after? Because we know what happened after the last time. So why should the country buy into that again?
If you could look into the future and see which way will go and which will not, then you're a genius.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that because we would have had the experience of 2010 to 20.
Yeah, but you can't use that, of course, as a yardstick to know what the future will bring. You can't use that. It's not sensible. No. It's not reasonable.
No, but you see, that is what was sold to the public then. This public was sold an amalgam of the COP, the UNC, the NJAC, and the TOP in Tobago. The public was sold that amalgam. And soon after that amalgam came into power, the UNC subsumed everybody.
When they're all over the world, alliances are forged, they succeed, and in other cases they don't. And therefore you have to rely on the experiences of others and of the past to know what the future holds. I'm not of course in any way am I fazed by what the future holds. I think that this country is mature enough politically to act accordingly.
Now, the UNC won convincingly in 2010 with the amalgam called the People's Partnership, and lost subsequent to that in 2015 and 2020.
But not. But I see you didn't say lost convincingly. You left that out.
But I didn't.
They didn't lose. They didn't lose convincingly.
Right, but I didn't say that. I said they lost. Right. What in your opinion is the UNC will be offering in 2025 that the population can hold on to that clearly didn't resonate in 2015 and 2020?
Well, that is for Mrs. Pasabi Sessa and her team to answer. I am not prepared, and I won't, offer an answer to that question because I'm not in the bosom of the UNC. I'm not in the heart of the UNC, and it will be, of course, premature of me to try to answer that question.
What do you think is the main issue facing the country now, Mr. Warner?
Main issue is crime, of course. The second one would be economy. And if you ask me who is the main person, I would tell you your Prime Minister. Wendell wouldn't like to hear that, but that is what I believe.
Well, the main person regarding what?
As one person like to say in an article, he's the leader for grief. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm borrowing a term from a professor who likes to use that in his articles. And I'm saying to you, the leader for a grief is the Prime Minister. That term is not original. It's not mine. I just borrowed it.
Yeah. The leader has ultimate responsibility. I have no problem. I don't know why you think I would not want to hear that. That's the reality.
If you want to hear, then you're changing, bro. You're changing. There's hope for you.
Mr. Warner, you know as a PNM member and an elected official at one point in time. I have no problem with issues surrounding the PNM. I have no problem with voicing my opinion on the PNM. None whatsoever.
I'm happy to hear that still maintains.
Yes, it still maintains.
You indicated when I asked you earlier on what was the main, what would be the main offering the UNC has post 2010 after they lost in 2015 and 2020, and you indicated in your answer that Mrs. Passabi would have to answer that. But what would account for your change of heart in supporting Mrs. Passabi, because even during some of those two elections, you'd have been quite critical of Mrs. Passabi at that point.
Yeah, I said to you, yesterday was yesterday, and today is today. The fact is, anybody who is serious about this country must look at what's happening in terms of crime, in terms of the economy, in terms of the level of corruption, in terms of the level of unemployment, in terms of the kind of depression that you see that is all pervasive. Anybody who is serious about this country must understand that and must take those things under control. People don't smile anymore here. People are fighting to walk the streets in the day as well as in the night, fighting to drive their cars. I mean, are you telling me that this is a country that people would be happy about from where we were to where we are at this point in time? Come on, you can't be. You really can't be. Young people are leaving our universities and they can't get jobs anywhere. They have no future. Doctors are unemployed, and now some of them I'm told are working in chicken outlets and so on. That can't make sense, Paul. It just can't make sense.
And how would the UNC change that? How would a UNC led by Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessor, who had an opportunity before, change that?
Well, I heard her make some statements in Parliament how she changed that, and I would like to rely on what she has said in Parliament and what she say. Otherwise, I am not going to sit at this point in time and try to preempt the UNC and see how they'll change that. Not me.
But Mr. Warner, I'm confused there because I mean the videos of you excoriating Mrs. Persad-Bissessor and the UNC on platforms not too long ago, they've been making the wrongs again.
Yeah, I know, and I know they're making the wrongs again, Paul. I know where they come from. I expect that, and I expect even much more than that. That doesn't daunt me anyway. I know who made them. I know where they come from, and they shall come in abundance later on. But that doesn't change me in any way.
Right, but it doesn't change you. But remember, you still have to convince a public that what you are saying and what you are doing now is to the benefit of the country at the end of the day. Because this is not about the UNC or you or Mrs. Persad-Bissessor or even Dr. Rowley. This is about Trinidad and Tobago.
There's one thing I have to convince the public about, and that is if they feel they are better off today than they were 2010, 2015, then so be it. I have no problem with that. I have to ask them if they're better off today. And if they believe that they're happy with the level of crime, the amount of murders, with the home invasions, with the rapes, and so on, if they're happy with all these things, I have no problem with that. At the end of the day, that is their choice. But I'm saying that if I can help in any way to improve the lives of the people, I'm prepared to do that.
And I think that statement, Mr. Warner, that question is a valid question. But I don't know if you'd agree with me. But I think when someone like yourself, who is someone who the country knows as a politician and a businessman for so many years, ran convincingly under the People's Partnership and then as an independent and won a seat, had been able to do quite a bit for the country, came out, as Wendell said, and excoriated Mr. Persad-Bissessor and then had a change of heart. Don't you think the country is owed an explanation as to why you changed your mind past yesterday is yesterday and today is today to first understand why your change of heart with Mrs. Persad-Bissessor is concerned? Don't you think the people are owed at least a full explanation for that?
Well, Paul, if you're asking me that still, then I've just wasted 15 minutes of your time and mine. I have told you why I have changed my mind. I have told you what I see happening in the country. I have told you that I believe that we are going down a very slippery slope. I have explained in some detail why. And if you're asking me that still, then we have wasted 15 minutes, Paul.
Well, what do you think of the marginal seats coming up in 2025?
What I said?
So what do you think are the marginal seats, the seats that will be up for grabs?
The usual Puna, the St. Joseph, the San Fernando West, and so on. These are the marginal seats in the main, as I see them.
And what do you think is the answer? Going back to the to me, what is the pressing issue facing the country, which is crime and national and citizen security. What do you think is the gap that is not being filled in making progress in the fight against crime?
Well, let me give it just two simple examples. Two simple examples. For over 10 years now, we have been talking about getting personalized number plates. In other words, you buy a car, you get a number plate, it's yours for life. You could buy 4 more vehicles if you want, it's the same number plate. That has been in the air for the past 12 to 15 years, Paul, and nothing has been done. Paul, look at what is happening in terms of the scans on the ports and so on. Nothing has been done. I have been asking for coastal police posts in Martelot, in Icacos, in Cedros, and so on. Nothing has been done. I am seeing the change these guys around every 3-4 months so that they don't get too routinized in those areas. Nothing has been done. I've made the point, Paul, that people should now have to have legally to work with their personal ID cards or some form of identification. So therefore, when you stop somebody, you know who you stop and legally and so on. And that will help to fight crime. Nothing has been done. And the list can go on and on, Paul. And these are not big money things. These are simple things that come from here and so on. Why don't we sit down and forget the politics, PNM with yours, forget the politics, and think about the people? And if we do that, Paul, this country will be a better place. Every time this country has enjoyed success at any level, I have been part of it. Whether it's in football 2006, whether it's in politics 2010, you name it. And therefore, I'm saying there's a kind of renaissance which I feel should take place at this point in time. I'm sorry to be so long.
You know, what you just said, probably maybe we should have started off the interview with that. Because what you just said, Mr. Warner, you're absolutely right. But guess what? You've gone back to the UNC, who was also part of not getting a lot of these things done, who was also part of shutting down a lot of these things when they came into power in 2010. That's why I won't argue against the fact that the PNM has taken way too long to put things back in place, right? But the UNC was also part of that. So how are you able to convince me and anybody else now that the UNC will be the answer again?
But Paul, the UNC
is
lost power.
Mr. Warner.
Sorry, but you all look like brothers, you see, in politics. In politics. Yes. Sorry, but that's our side. Let me tell you something. The PNM voted out the UNC. The PNM voted them out. And the PNM promised certain things that they'll do this for this country. You have less corruption. You have, of course, better infrastructure. They'll be able to control crime. The famous talk is that if you cannot control crime, then you are the problem. You remember those statements and so on?
Yes.
They were elected to do these things. And therefore I'm saying, why haven't they? That's what I'm asking you. Why haven't they? They voted out the UNC. Fine, no problem. The UNC didn't do that and they failed. But Jesus Christ, after 9-10 years, you have done nothing. Let's face it now. Face it. Let's be fair.
Well, I won't say they've done nothing because they have held. They have
done much.
Yeah, they have held the economy together during the most difficult period in the world, especially through those 4 years of COVID. They've held the country together still. So I can't say that they've done nothing. I could agree with you that certain issues along the crime front, they could have done more. I won't argue that. But again, you see, for me, there's a saying, I've lost it, but you are asking the country now, which is why maybe a third party would have been the best option at this point in time. But you are asking the country to go back to a leadership, a UNC led by Kamla Persad-Bissessar, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and that includes people who are there before the courts right now, Mr. Warner.
In this country, and I expected to see that a long time ago, but I still live in this country where one is innocent until proven guilty, and I'm prepared to make no judgment on anybody, right? At this point, none. But if you have reasons to think otherwise, then fine. But I live by the mantra: one is innocent until proven guilty, my friend.
No problem.
So if something can,
Mr. Warner,
Williams and so on. So I'm not worried about that.
While you're looking in the pink of health, would you care to share your age with us?
Well, I'm 6 years older than Rowley. I'm 3 years older than Donald Trump. I'm 4 years younger than the Pope, so that should give you my age.
So you should be going to the Vatican then.
No,
So
that's too far for me, man. I want to stay here. I
at
want
the
to have my Vatican here in Trinidad and Tobago.
at the risk of sounding ageist, there's been a conversation about the age of our present leadership stock. Do you think that's a factor?
I really don't think so. You see, I am not. This country, Trinidad and Tobago, is a speck of dust in the world. A speck of dust. You have Joe Biden at 81 still leading the US. You have Trump.
But he stepped down.
He hasn't stepped down as yet, right? He stepped down
But
in
he didn't offer
January.
himself
You have
for
Trump
presidency
at
again.
78, still going for office. So, as one person said, for me, age is just a number. If you're not sane here and in good health, then fine, you move on. But there has to be a combination of age as well as youth, and I've seen that. Find the best match. Find the best match that will give you a good government.
Well, it's not so much age as it is health. Eh?
But okay, fine. Some people believe age. I'm
Yeah.
saying, but I believe, of course, health, and more so health here, sanity here, than anything else.
Yeah.
We spoke a while ago about the issue of the UNC going it alone, and I'm paraphrasing here because you said anyone who wants to join to contest the election should join the UNC and go under UNC banner, right? Is that correct?
That's it. So.
What if Tobago then? Because the UNC doesn't seem to have offered a candidate in Tobago. What do you think will happen in Tobago?
What I'm saying does not apply to Tobago. My apologies. That's applied to Trinidad. What I'm saying doesn't apply to Tobago.
Why should it apply to Tobago in a national election?
Tobago should be allowed to fight the election as they have done in the past and come up with solutions to their problems as they have done in the past.
How can a party be a national party in an election, a general election with 41 constituencies, and not fighting seats in Tobago?
Well, if you choose to fight 39 seats and not 41, what's the big thing? What's the big thing about that?
The big thing is that you're trying to represent all 41 constituencies in Trinidad and Tobago. And you just earlier on you said if the party is in terms of an alliance and amalgamation, anyone who wants to be a part of that should join the UNC and fight under the UNC banner. But now you're saying Tobago is different. That doesn't sound like it's reconciling well.
You know, a fellow named the late Lloyd Best, and you might not have been around in those heady days.
I was in school.
Lloyd Best had said something. He said, in Trinidad and Tobago, you have three societies, right? You have Trinidad, you have Tobago, and then you have Trinidad and Tobago. That's what he says. And therefore, I'm saying for you that it doesn't apply that you have to fight Tobago if you know that your political fortunes in Tobago are not good. What sense it makes? If at the end of the day, Tobago wishes to come in the UNC or the PNM, as the case may be, then so be it. But you look and see where your political fortunes are, and you maximize those areas, Paul.
Yeah, but that don't make sense. That don't make sense, Mr.
No, it doesn't make sense to you. But those things doesn't make sense, period. It does make sense to you from where you are. But I'm saying, fine, it does make sense to us from where we stand, where we sit. That's all.
So then why fight Laventille East and West? Why fight Port of Spain North and South if you know you're not going to win those seats?
How you know?
Because if I have to use your justification for them not going into Tobago, why are they fighting some of these PNM seats that they know they'll not win?
Why the PNM fighting some of the seats of the UNC seats?
So PNM has fought all 41 seats, all the seats available in any election all the time. PNM don't sit out any election, whether it's a by-election, a local election, or a national election. PNM fights all the seats.
Good for the PNM, Wendell. Very good for the PNM. That's all.
But doesn't it mean, Mr. Warner, that at some point, given the fact that the THA is presently held by Mr. Augustine and his colleagues, and if they are successful in winning one or two Tobago seats, that it means that the UNC will have to form some sort of amalgam with them going into the lower house?
It's quite that's a possibility.
Doesn't that contradict what you said earlier? The UNC has to go it alone, or you're talking about in the campaign and not necessarily in forming a government?
Let me get it again, please.
Well, does that mean that what you said earlier on about the UNC going it alone and people fighting under UNC banner, it's only good for the campaign and not necessarily forming a government?
Why not? I should form a government. I don't see, of course, I don't see it being too different. Why can't you form a government? I really don't understand what you're asking me, Paul. Honestly, with this.
Well, you said earlier on that if someone wants to join with the UNC, they should come under UNC banner and be a
I said
part of
so.
the
I
UNC,
said so.
right? And now I'm asking about Tobago, and you're saying, well, I said ask if Mr. Augustine Fali Augustine is to win a seat in Tobago, isn't it a logical thought process that some sort of amalgam would have to be formed with Mrs. Pasal Bisses and the UNC to form a government under
I
some
could see it.
circumstances?
I could see it being a possibility.
But they would not have run under UNC banner.
No, they will not. But of course, you have a situation whereby they will be able to determine whether it's good for them to join the UNC or the PNM. They have to determine that. That is their call to make.
Well, it was
They
done
have to determine
before,
that.
Mr. Warner. That was done before, and we know what happened as a result of that.
You keep forgetting, Wendell, that yesterday is yesterday. You keep forgetting
Mr.
that.
Warner, you can't be so
Well,
flippant.
well, I
You
don't,
can't be so flippant with
That's
politics.
not being flippant at all. That is using history. That is using history to help you determine the present. They're using the past to help you determine the present and the future possibly.
So what are you saying? The public should forget the lessons learned in both cases, both the PNM in the past and the UNC, because that's why the government has changed at different times, and forget history and just vote on now? That's what you're saying?
Mr. Independent Senator, I'm saying more than that. I'm saying, I hear saying, Mr. Independent Senator, I am saying if the people are happy with things as they are, then stay so. That's all I'm saying. As very simple as that. It's a simplistic. If they're happy with things as they are, then stay that way. Vote as you want for the PNM and so on. If you're not happy, then use the alternative. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying much more than that. And I don't understand the words you're trying to put in my mouth this morning. It doesn't. I mean, after all this Monday morning, man, don't put words in my mouth.
Mr. Warner, we'll never try to put words in your mouth. I want to go back to your role because you were once a Minister of National Security. And I think people respected you in that role. And you said earlier on, you gave examples about the number plates, which I agreed with. I agree with totally as one of the mechanisms by which people can start tracking cars, because cars are used in almost all crimes. The roadways are used in almost all crimes. Do you see other gaps in the national security infrastructure that could provide gains in the short to medium term that you can identify for us?
Well, there are one, two others which I have not going into real depth about, and I don't want to put them out in the public domain as yet. But simple things as the process of eliminating rogue cops from the police service. Look, a guy who got killed as a police officer in Arima last week, he was on a disciplinary charge in 2014. 2014, Paul. It has taken 10 years, and he's still on disciplinary charge. Now, he was murdered, right? But why should it take 10 years for a police officer to be disciplined? 10 years, Paul? Why is it that we don't have some system or some mechanism whereby guys who want firearms can follow a particular procedure and get the firearms? Why should the commissioner of police be the sole person to determine about firearms? And you don't have a reason why you're not giving it X or Y a week. And then people's businesses are being robbed morning, noon, and night. Why? These are simple things, Paul. I haven't gone to the depth of them and so on. But for me, these are simple things you can do. You have rogue officers, right? And thing is, people know who they are, and the police hierarchy know who they are, and doing nothing about it, Paul. Nothing.
So why do you think there's a reluctance to deal with that? Because I've raised that over and over. I've raised the issue of corrupt elements in customs over and over. Why as a country are we reluctant to deal with the corruption in the police service and deal with the corruption in customs in a really effective manner? What's the issue there?
Well, I can't answer you on that, except to tell you that possibly both of a feather flock together.
Mr. Warner, as you raise certain issues just now around the TTPS, because we have been very, how I should put it, vocal about issues in the TTPS on this Power Breakfast show. Do you think the time has come? And I'm not talking about past history now, because past history showed that you all didn't want a foreign commissioner. Do you think it's time for a foreign commissioner of police?
I don't believe so.
You don't?
I don't believe. Look, what happened in the old days when we had people like Eustace Bernard and the guy from Tobago, I can't remember his name at the moment. And these guys, they are local guys, you know. Trevor Paul and these guys, what happened to them? What happened to James Philbert? And we had police commissioners before who had the respect of the country and whom you could look up to. Guys who knew about beat and patrol, who had gone through the system from beginning to end. Why you have to go outside to get everything that you believe is good? Everything from food, go right back to police commissioners, have to come from outside? I don't subscribe to that.
Well, let me rephrase that then. Do you think we need a commissioner of police who did not come up through the ranks of the TTPS to be effective?
I think we need a police commissioner who knows his or her job and who is free from politics as it operates at this point in time. Our police have become too politicized, and therefore nobody has any trust or confidence in the police because they believe that the police service is a political arm of the government. True or false, I don't know. All I'm saying is they look at the police as a party group, and whether that is true or false is not for me to say. All I'm saying that is the perception out there, and you must change that.
Well, do you then think the process for appointing a commissioner, which goes through the Police Service Commission, and after that merit list is created and passed on to the Parliament, any government in power can say yes, no, yes, no. Do you think that process should be changed?
I have not given it any thought, Paul. I have not given it any thought, and I'm sorry I can't answer your question at this point.
Well, what are your thoughts then on the period that Gary Griffith was Commissioner of Police?
He was a good commissioner of police. People had confidence in the police then. Crime was down. The fear that is now all pervasive and exists at this moment was not there in his time. He may have made some errors. I am doing, but I'm not able to judge anybody. What I do know that the public had a higher regard for the police then than they do now.
Right, which is why I asked the question about someone outside of the ranks of the TTPS running the TTPS, because I don't believe anybody in those ranks who came up through those ranks of the TTPS at this point in time can do the job that is required.
I want to just switch in our last 4 minutes to the issue of sport. It would be remiss of us to have you here and not ask your opinion on the present state of the national senior football team, football in general, and sport in general in Trinidad and Tobago. What do you think is the issue?
I don't think we have a football team that can carry us very far in terms of competitions, especially the World Cup. I think that what we have to do in football is to go back and build from the ground up, build our youth programs. We have no footballers to date that I believe that is acceptable at the highest level. In fact, I want to go further and say, I believe that we have to go outside to get a coach to come and assist us. I don't believe there's anybody in the country at this point in time who is able to take this football team to the World Cup. And that is the epitome of football, the World Cup. And therefore, I am looking on. I see some names. Look, Paul, can you call the names of 5 footballers in the country?
No, I can't. But when you say a coach from not here, would that include people like Dwight York who are not based here?
No, I don't think Dwight York has had enough experience, to be honest. I know him well. He lived in my home and so on. But we need people like a Bin Hacker, for example, right? We need people like that. They're expensive, they're costly, but you will understand that when you make that investment, you make it, of course, for the country, not even for the sport alone, for the country.
But if you say we have no players now and the developmental process has had gaps where we haven't developed the kinds of players, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, what's the sense of bringing in a current coach if we do have the cadre of players?
The coach doesn't have to come in now. But I'm saying to you 2 things. First of all, you have to have your youth programs, under 17, under 19, under 21, and so on, that you work on build. For 10 years, I did that, Paul. And that created the Latapia and the Yorks and so on of this world. They didn't come overnight. For football, there's no quick fix in football. You don't have no Nescafe mentality for football. Instant coffee, instant football. It takes time. And we can't get to where we want to be until we invest time and money in building a base. That's what I'm saying.
So Mr. Warner, you think a local can be a coach, but a foreigner should. But you don't think a local could be, you don't think a foreigner should be a commissioner of police, but he could be a football coach.
Are you
confused? The 2 things are different.
But I know it's 2 different things, but I'm just saying, I'm going with...
Please. The 2 things are
different. 2 completely different things.
Definitely,
I
man.
did it. I did it on purpose because I
Yeah,
did it.
but it's not kind
I
of
did it
making
on
sense.
purpose.
It's
Anyway, my
not
last
kind of
question
making
to you,
Oh,
sense.
Mr.
oh,
Warner.
talking for me, please now. Talking
It's
for me,
not
please now.
making sense, Wendell.
My
You know that it's
last
not making
question.
sense.
That's
You
the
My
don't,
point.
no,
last
no,
question.
you're competing a football team with a commissioner of police
Can I
and
finish?
My God.
My,
Oh my
my,
God.
Warner.
my last question to you, Mr. Warner. Should UNC win the next elections, what ministry can we expect to see Mr. Warner heading?
I couldn't care less. All I want, of course, all I want is political change, regime change to bring some stability to this country. But I couldn't care less. It doesn't bother me. Those things, of course, very honest when those things are important to me, you know. I repeat, and I'll end by saying, my role, my hope is that I can contribute in improving the lives of the people of this country. And I want to end on that note.
How is your lovely wife?
Oh, she's fine. She's fine. She's still,
I
of
see,
course.
I see she has those wonderful Hawaiian shirts well organized for you.
I will tell her. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you,
You
Mr.
always trying to
Warner.
look like a young boy.
All right.
But
I'm a young boy.
you look
I'm
great,
a
I'll
young
tell
boy
you
from.
that. You
I'm
look very
a
well.
young boy from the waist down.